I'm Jamal Simmons, and this is why you should care about today's show. We're not just going to talk about which candidate is beating the others. Debates are coming up next week, and we're going to talk about where Americans stand on the issues. With about 100 days until the Iowa caucuses, we brought in one of the people who knows the most about all these polls. His name is Lee Miringoff of the Marist Institute. Can we start off with your look at President Trump?
Yeah.
That's always the big horse race, sort of the big overall number people want to take a look at. Where did you find on the president's approval rating and his reelect?
Yeah, so the approval rating is sort of like where it's been, like the low to mid 40s, 44 in our numbers. Others are showing very similar. But when it comes to whether people are going to vote definitely to reelect him, 39% say yes. 53% say no. So you have a clear majority right now saying, at least at this point, that they're not nationally intending to vote for him at all.
And have you seen that 53% number move very much over the life of doing these surveys?
That's been fairly up a little bit, but then also people who are planning on vote for him is also kind of inched up a little. The independents are the ones that are really interesting in this because they think the economy is really humming along, and they have a lot of doubts as to whether they're going to vote for him, which suggests, the old, it's the economy stupid, or people vote their pocketbook.
Okay, and you've got the president at a couple of good places on the economy.
Yeah, well, people are seeing that as a very strong suit for him. So
52-44.
You're talking about a majority of people think the economy is strong, and they think they are also benefiting from it.
Yeah.
As far as the country's concerned, and independents on that question, they're positive towards the president.
Okay, so if he's doing so well in the economy and the economy doing well for me, where's he doing badly that seems to be dragging that number down?
A broad sense of being presidential or not. And I think that when we also talk about issues of race, issues of immigration, there's a lot of things, gun control, where the Democrats are very much mainstream in terms of where America is, and the president is really out of step.
You also looked here at some issues, and particularly issues that are really active in the Democratic primary right now, because the Democrats are running around the country talking a lot about a bunch of these issues that many people think are very progressive, but are they out of step with where the American electorate is?
Well, there's one particularly when we talk about health care, and that's a really important one. We saw it at the debates where they were all raising their hands. All right, Medicare for all, if it replaces your private insurance, is a loser for Democrats. Medicare for all, if you have a choice of the government program or keeping your private insurance, that's a winner for Democrats. So that distinction is a huge difference when it comes to how people are reacting.
So you got Bernie Sanders on one side, who's really the Medicare for all, no private insurance person. You got a bunch of Democrats on the other side, though, who are not, they don't seem as willing to come out and say they're for keeping private insurance. But that seems to be where the electorate is.
Yes, but I think my guess is that at the next debates, Democrats are going to try to be more nuanced on that, because there was a lot of hands that were going up in the last debate for Medicare for all, period. And that's a problem when it comes to the general election. And, and other issues, pathway to citizenship, a good issue for Democrats.
But a hot button issue out here is the wealth tax. Elizabeth Warren in particular is going around talking about a wealth tax. Where are voters when you ask them a question about where they are on that?
Well, okay, the income issue is again very interesting. So you have people like the so-called wealth tax. They also want an increase in the minimum wage to 15. So that is something that's positive for Democrats. But when you talk about a universal guaranteed income, the Yang position, that's one that is not in step with America. So that's not a winner. So again, issue by issue becomes a very different narrative in terms of this Democratic field.
So now, when getting out of the big Democratic presidential field, but one that's really hot on Capitol Hill, that's getting a lot of Democrats to wring their hands with a little bit of nervousness, is this idea of a Green New Deal that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been pushing. Where are voters on the Green New Deal?
Yeah, I found that interesting, because that was, every now and then you get asked, are you surprised by anything? That was a surprise for me, because on the Green New Deal, when you link it to jobs and energy, is a positive 63-32. A majority of independents, the overwhelming majority of Democrats. That's an issue that's positive for both Democratic primary field and the nation as a whole.
All right, so before we get out of here, what do you see as the real places of concern for Democrats, independents, and Republicans? Seems like they may be in very different places on these issues. Anything where this really jumped off the page for you?
Well, with Republicans, it's Donald Trump, and it's all things Trump. So wherever he is, that's where they are. I mean, he's got that base, and that's humming along for him. Independents are much more selective, issue by issue. So we see things where they are in favor of where the Democrats are, but other issues where, as I say, the replacement of private insurance with Medicare for All is a real problem. Health insurance for illegal immigrants, that's a problem with independents and becomes a problem for Democrats. Decriminalization of border crossings, also a problem. So independents are going back and forth, issue by issue. Democrats, if they can sell the issue of health care as a choice, they're going to have a really receptive audience around the country.
All right. Lee Marengoff from the Marist Institute, thank you for joining us again. It's always a pleasure to have you on
My
Hill
pleasure.
TV.
And good luck with the whole new setup here.
I
Looks
appreciate
great.
it. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.